Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack the ideas shaping our world, one source at a time. Today, we're diving into a foundational text that's, well, it's both classic and for some, maybe quite radical. Wallace D. Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich, published way back in 1910. Our mission in this deep dive is to explore whether getting rich truly is a science, like Wattles claims, or maybe it's more of a philosophy. We'll be pulling out the most, surprising and actionable insights from his work, helping you understand not just what he proposed, but why his unique approach still resonates and maybe challenges our modern ideas about success and a fulfilling life. Okay, so let's unpack this. Wattles kicks things off with a statement that, wow, it still feels incredibly bold over a century later, that every single person has the right to be rich. For many people, that immediately conjures up images of like greed or maybe just naive idealism. How does Wattles deal with that perception?
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how he totally redefines rich. He argues it's not about hoarding wealth just for the sake of it. It's about having the financial means to fully develop yourself, mentally, physically, spiritually, the whole
Right,
package.
whole person.
Exactly. He even goes as far as calling it a sacred duty to get wealth.
Mhm.
Because without it, he argues, you can't access the experiences, the education, the resources you need to, fulfill your unique purpose, to express your highest self.
Hmm.
That's a pretty radical flip of the usual script, right?
Yeah.
Where spirituality and wealth are often seen as opposites. He's saying material well-being isn't a distraction. It's actually a tool for spiritual growth.
That's a really profound reframe. Wealth not as the end goal, but the means to, a more complete life. And then he jumps right into this really audacious claim that getting rich is a science, not luck, not just grinding away with hard work, not even being some kind of genius. I mean, how does he justify calling something that seems so unpredictable like wealth a science?
Well, he insists this science is exact, just like chemistry or math. Wattles basically says if you learn and apply its principles consistently, you will accumulate wealth. Period.
Really?
That's deterministic.
That's his position. He bases this on a belief in universal abundance. He says wealth isn't some limited pie we all fight over. Instead, it flows in response to specific actions you take, actions that are in harmony with, like natural laws. If you operate according to this science, the universe provides.
Okay.
And that leads him to another really interesting point,
Which is?
that opportunity isn't monopolized. He suggests that your external circumstances, tough economy, where you live, they don't really limit your chances.
So if others are succeeding where I am, I can too.
That's the idea. He says the key shift you need to make is getting away from competitive thought. Seeing wealth as zero sum, like if they win, I lose.
Right.
And shifting instead to creative thought, focusing on abundance, on generating new value, new possibilities. So it's much less about the outside world and way more about an internal shift, a paradigm shift, really. Which brings us to Wattles' core concept, the real engine behind this whole science. The key is thought. How on earth does he connect something so intangible, like a thought, to creating actual, tangible wealth?
It's maybe his most radical idea, honestly. He says, thought is the only power that can produce tangible riches from the formless substance that fills the universe.
Okay, formless substance. That sounds mystical.
You could see it that way. Think of it maybe less like an empty void and more like pure potentiality. It echoes ideas you find in some ancient philosophies, maybe even some concepts in like modern physics about the quantum field. Pure potential.
Okay, I can sort of picture that, like raw clay.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And your thoughts, according to Wattles, are the sculptor's hands. They shape this potential into physical reality. The process he describes involves first forming a really clear, definite mental picture of exactly what you want, and then holding on to that image with unwavering faith and purpose.
So it's not just daydreaming.
No, definitely not. He sees it as an active act of mental creation. Desire is the starting point, sure, but it needs that clarity and that absolute belief.
That analogy of the formless substance as pure potential, like clay, really helps visualize it. Okay, so if thought is the sculptor, what about how we interact with the world around us? He talks about increasing life in Chapter 5. What does that actually mean for how we operate day to day?
Right. This is where the sort of ethical dimension comes in, the reciprocal part of his science. Wattles insists you must always be advancing life, not just your own life, but the lives of everyone you interact with.
Advancing life.
It translates into a core principle.
Yeah.
You must consistently be giving more in use value than you take in cash value.
Ah, So value for value, but give more value.
Exactly. You're meant to operate as a creator adding to the world, not as a competitor just trying to grab a bigger slice. The goal isn't just your personal gain. It's the advancement, the upliftment of everyone involved.
Okay, that adds a layer of responsibility.
Definitely. And then the question is, how do these riches actually show up? He says it's through what he calls the law of attraction.
Ah, the law of attraction. That term is everywhere now.
It is, and Wattles was writing about it in 1910. He says when you consistently think and act in the certain way, that's his key phrase for this precise alignment of thought and action. The universe literally rearranges circumstances. It brings you opportunities, resources, ideas.
Does that mean just sit back and wait for it?
No, not at all. That's a common misconception. He specifically cautions against relying on chance or luck. Riches, he says, respond to faith, action, and vision, not luck, not winning the lottery.
Action is key then.
Absolutely. And he stresses acting now.
Mm.
Right where you are in your current situation. Don't wait for some perfect future moment.
Okay, so it's not just abstract mental stuff. There are concrete practices. Wattles really lays out a whole framework. Let's dig into some of the pillars of this practice. He starts with gratitude, calls it essential. Why gratitude?
Yeah, essential is the word he uses. According to Wattles, gratitude is your direct line, your connection to the source of all riches. It keeps your mind tuned in harmony with that abundant source.
How does that work practically?
He believes the more genuinely grateful you are, the more your mind stays focused on abundance, not lack. And this attitude actually kind of multiplies what you desire. It draws more good things to you. He recommends it as a daily practice. Start and end your day with heartfelt thanks. It keeps your thoughts aligned.
That makes sense. A disciplined gratitude practice. And that leads right back to thinking in the certain way. You mentioned the mental discipline. For someone trying to actually do this, what does that look like day to day? It still feels a bit abstract.
It really is a precise mental routine he's describing. First, form that crystal clear mental image of what you want. Be specific. Then hold it constantly in your mind, not obsessively, but consistently. Third, believe it's already yours. Feel the reality of it now. And finally, combine all that with deep gratitude for it, as if you've already received it.
Okay, image, hold, believe, gratitude.
Right. And this whole mental process, he claims, effectively magnetizes the creative forces of the universe. It's like you're creating this clear signal, this beacon that attracts the right opportunities, resources, even people, sometimes in unexpected ways.
Magnetizes. Interesting word.
Yeah. But to keep that magnet working, you have to rigorously guard your thoughts, avoid doubt, avoid fear, avoid comparing yourself to others. Because those negative thoughts, he says, they cancel out the creative power.
Wow, that sounds like demanding internal work, constant vigilance over your own mind.
It is. It requires discipline.
So if that's how we're supposed to use our thoughts, what about our will? Because usually we think of willpower as forcing things, pushing through obstacles. That seems kind of opposite to this idea of attraction.
That's a really crucial distinction Wattles makes, and it's counterintuitive for many. He says you should not use your will to try and force other people to do things or to control external events directly.
Okay, so not trying to bend the world to my will.
Exactly. Instead, the will is primarily for internal use. Its job is to keep your mind fixed on your vision and on your faith.
Ah, so willpower is for managing myself, my focus.
Precisely. It's about resisting distractions, resisting negativity, both internal and external, directing your focus only toward your vision, and trusting that the how will unfold. It's pure inner discipline.
Inner discipline. I like that.
And he takes it even further. He advises you must guard against allowing appearances to shape your thinking. Meaning, if you look around and all you see is lack or limitation, maybe your bank account is low, maybe business is slow.
Yeah.
Don't let that visual evidence shake your faith or change your core thoughts.
But that's hard. Reality seems pretty real.
He acknowledges that. He calls appearances deceptive. He says the formless substance is infinite. Wealth is always being created, even if you can't see it right now. Your job is to stay focused on the unseen truth, which is abundance, and act in faith, regardless of current circumstances.
That requires a powerful, almost unwavering mental game. Okay. So this all raises a really important question. What does this look like in daily physical action? How do we move from all this intense mental work to, tangible steps in the real world?
Right, because it's not just thinking. This is where acting in the certain way really hits the ground. Wattles is very clear. You must act now where you are with what you have. No waiting.
Like now where you are,
Okay.
right?
And this means doing every task efficiently and successfully. Every single one. Performing every action with purpose and intention, no matter how small.
Even like mundane chores.
Yes. Because, he says, no action is insignificant if it is done in the spirit of increase. Your present place,
Yeah.
wherever you are right now, is your point of power. That's where the creative process has to start.
The point of power. Okay, what does he mean by efficiently? Just fast.
Not just fast. He means doing things well, with your full presence and focus, complete attention, whether you're, sweeping a floor like his example, or managing a multi-million-dollar project, you bring excellence to it.
So quality in action matters.
Immensely. He connects this excellence in everyday tasks to kind of raising your own vibration, making yourself ready for and attractive to greater opportunities. It aligns you with that flow of abundance.
Okay. And what about finding the right job or business? Does he say you need to quit your job immediately if it's not perfect?
That's another practical point he addresses. He actually says you don't necessarily need to change industries or jobs right away. The initial focus should be to bring increase to your current work. Add more value where you are right now.
Bring increase, meaning do it better, be more valuable.
Yes, and have the intention of increase behind it. By doing that, he believes the universe will naturally open doors for a better fit down the line if that's needed. You start the creative process exactly where you stand.
That's more achievable than feeling like you have to make a huge leap immediately.
Right. And perhaps one of the most powerful and maybe subtle practical concepts is what he calls the impression of increase.
The impression of increase? What's that?
It means in all your interactions, you should always give the impression of increase. Let every person you meet feel that you are someone of value, someone who brings value, someone who is moving forward.
So how you carry yourself, how you communicate.
Exactly. Speak and act in ways that uplift others. Be a source of inspiration, not complaint or negativity. He argues that people are naturally drawn to those who are growing and helping others grow. It makes you magnetic in a social and business sense.
That's fascinating. It's about the energy you project.
Precisely. And all of this culminates in becoming what he calls the advancing person.
The advancing person, what defines them?
This is his ideal. Someone who is consistently focused, grateful, efficient, and full of faith. They radiate a quiet confidence and expectation of success, and they naturally attract it. By becoming this type of person, Wattles believes you automatically rise above average conditions and draw riches toward you.
So it's about embodying these principles.
Yes. It's presented as a continuous mission. Always move forward mentally, spiritually, and materially. It's a holistic advancement.
It really sounds like a complete internal and external transformation, not just a few tips or tricks. And like any powerful system, I imagine Wattles includes some warnings, some cautions. What are the biggest pitfalls he tells people to watch out for?
Oh, absolutely. He's quite clear on the dangers. He warns strongly against losing focus on your core vision. Don't get sidetracked. Don't get anxious about when things will happen or what other people think. That kills the faith.
Avoid worry and external validation.
Yeah, exactly. He also says you absolutely must avoid criticism, gossip, negativity about others. Stay positive, stay faithful, and don't rush things frantically or try to micromanage outcomes that aren't in your direct control. Trust the larger process.
What's the alternative approach then?
His advice is simple. Just do each day's work with calm efficiency and joyful expectancy. Trust that if you're doing your part, the results will come.
Calm efficiency and joyful expectancy. That's a powerful combination. Wow. It really is remarkable how many core ideas in modern self-help, manifestation, even business strategy you can trace right back to this slim book from over 100 years ago. Okay, so let's quickly recap Wallace D. Wattles' Science of Getting Rich using his own 8 core principles. These basically summarize that certain way he keeps mentioning. First, there is a thinking substance from which all things are made, that formless potential. Second, a thought held with faith and purpose creates the thing imagined. Thought shapes the substance. Third, to get rich, you must form a clear, definite mental picture of what you want. Clarity is key. Fourth, you have to hold that picture with unwavering faith, deep gratitude, and the belief it's already happening. Fifth, you must act now, doing everything you can do today efficiently and well. Action is non-negotiable. Sixth, you must give more in use value than you take in cash value. Be a source of increase. Seventh, you must always maintain that impression of increase in your interactions, project advancement. And finally, eighth, you have to consistently think and act in the specific, certain way. It's the whole system working together.
It's just amazing, isn't it? How these principles written so long ago still feel so relevant and honestly quite challenging to many modern ideas about pure hustle or luck or scarcity. Wattles truly framed getting rich or achieving success as less about random chance or just brute force and much more about a deliberate, almost spiritual alignment with how he saw the universe working.
A science of alignment, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So we'll leave you, our listener, with this thought to chew on. Given Wattles' framework, this idea that success might really be a science, not just luck or grinding, which specific part of his certain way resonates most with you right now? Is it harnessing the power of gratitude? Is it mastering that mental discipline of holding the vision? Or perhaps focusing on acting with that impression of increase? Which element might you choose to focus on first to maybe start unlocking your own potential in that